Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto had an arranged marriage with Multiple Kunoichi Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Training Ground 7. Yugito knew rudimentary chakra healing. It was difficult for her to learn, due to her huge chakra levels, and she couldn't use anything beyond the scope of simple laceration healing. At the time of her wanting to learn medical healing, she was in the mindset of becoming a well-rounded kunoichi jonin, and making her village proud of her. As she healed the wound on Naruto's back, which was a slow process, he tried to start a conversation. Hey Yugito. Yeah, what do you fight for? This question caught her unawares. Well, I fight for the good of my village, and its people. No, I meant, why do you fight? I guess. Yugito thought for a second. Then another. Then another. Sensing that she might not have an answer that was easy to articulate with words, he gave his own reason, to help jog her thought processes. I fight for the people who are precious to me. Oh, she said in a surprised tone. You're a Jinchuriki from a nation that doesn't really trust Jinchuriki. Who do you have that are precious enough to you that you fight for them? I don't have a lot, but the few I do, I will fight to protect until my dying breath. Yugito raised her eyebrows at the seriousness of his tone. Quite the stubborn guy, aren't you? I guess. So why do you fight? He repeated. I don't know, I don't have a reason. Everyone who fights has to have a reason to fight. That's how they can truly become strong, fighting for a reason. Naruto gave the same speech that Haku had given him about true strength. Yugito was silent for a while. Don't you have anyone to fight for? Not anymore. That shut Naruto up really quick. So what was up with you in the shared mindscape? She asked her own question. What do you mean? Well, when you first went in there, you were talking about how you took that Thames chakra as rent, but then you started spewing apologies to it. That was quite the 180. I don't know, I guess that when I heard about what he went through, I felt like I could relate to him a little. Pervy Sage had just given me a speech about understanding, and when the Kyuubi told us about the stuff that happened to him, I just kinda reacted. You don't really seem to plan out your moves ahead of time, do you? Oi, but it seems that it always works best for you in the end. Even if that conversation happened to end with the Kyuubi ejecting everyone out of the shared mindscape. Oh, well, Kakashi-sensei did tell me that I was good at coming up with plans on the spot. The healing had finished by the time he was done talking. Unbeknownst to them, Kuretsuchi and Temari were having their own conversation, next to the unconscious Fu. I didn't think that he would have such powerful jutsu. Kuretsuchi said. Truly, a B rank clone technique, and an A- rank shape manipulation technique was quite the repertoire of ninja techniques. He was lacking in quantity, but making up for it in quality. Which was ironic, given his fighting style. I've seen him fight a couple other times, but it's still really weird to think that he's that strong, he's always so childish otherwise. You've seen him fight before. It was as the Chunin exams, he beat a Hyuga that was said to be the best of a generation, and he didn't even know the Rasengan at the time. Holy shit. He also beat my brother while in his tailed beast mode. Gaara. Really? How? Kuretsuchi asked. He also knows summoning, so he summoned a huge toad, and transformed it into a likeness of the Kyuubi. Really? Him? Apparently he has huge chakra reserves. Oh. Kuretsuchi's eyes lit up. What? Wheel, you know what they say about men with large chakra reserves, don't you? She looked at Temari suggestively. No, what? Temari didn't notice the pervy leer that Kuretsuchi was giving off. Kuretsuchi leaned really close to her ear, and cupped her hand around her mouth. They have huge, she whispered. Temari gained a huge blush and started spluttering out unintelligible sounds. All the while Kuretsuchi was almost doubled over in laughter. This woke up Fu, and attracted the attention of Naruto and Yugito. What's so funny? He asked, wanting to get in the fun. Nothing. Temari shouted. Wait, what? Fu asked groggily. Kuretsuchi knelt down, leaned in close, and started whispering in her ear. After the tale was done, Fu also sported a huge blush, and wouldn't look Naruto in the eyes. Okay, now I'm curious. Yugito said. Kuretsuchi whispered in Yugito's ear as well, not wanting Naruto to hear. Yugito didn't react outwardly when the tale was done. I thought that theory was disproven. She stated. There's a correlation, Kuretsuchi said with a mischievous smirk. What are you guys talking about? Naruto asked, getting frustrated now. Yugito looked at him dead in the eyes, with the utmost seriousness that a proud Jonin of the Hidden Cloud village could muster. It's about our periods. This statement only made Naruto look even more confused, which set off another round of laughter for Kuretsuchi. Yugito looked at the situation with a light feeling in her chest. This is actually kind of fun. She thought to herself. She couldn't remember the last time she had that feeling in her chest. The feeling of actually enjoying herself. The sun's position told her that it was about 4 to 5-ish. So what do we do now? She asked. Naruto and Fu were still beat up from their spar, and Kuretsuchi and Temari were still low on reserves from that morning, so that crossed out training. It was late-ish, but not late enough to get dinner. Fu started to gingerly get up. Why don't we go to the hot springs? That sounds like a great idea. Temari said. The massacre of an entire forest was always good for the soul, but nothing helps people unwind like soaking in hot water. Kuretsuchi, Naruto, and Yugito also agreed with Temari's sentiments. They all started walking towards the hot springs while in a comfortable silence. The trip to the hot springs was going to be a good way for them all to unwind, and to reflect on their day. However, as they all stood in front of a sign on the hot springs entrance in silence, they waited for someone else to say something. The sign read, Mixed Bathing Day. Fu, mentally, didn't feel comfortable bathing with the opposite gender. Fu, physically, really just wanted to soak her aching body in some hot water, and call it a day. Her physicality won the inner debate. I don't care, I'm going to soak. She said gruffly. She went in, and the rest followed. Naruto felt slight trepidation walking in after them, for he had a gut feeling that something bad was going to happen to him. After he had undressed and washed, he put on a towel to cover his sensitive bits, and went into the springs, now devoid of a divider. Luckily there were only 4 other people there, unluckily, they were people he interacted with regularly. He stood at the side of the bath, looking at the members of Team 8, unsure of what to do. Hinata was blushing up a storm, which Naruto chalked up to the bath heat. Kiba looked at Naruto with slight confusion. Shino barely reacted at all, he also had his glasses on, which was weird. And Kurenai was glaring daggers. Can I come in? He asked. He didn't need to ask, after all, he had already paid to get in. But the look that he got from Kurenai made him think twice about it. Kurenai continued to glare at him. If you came in here to peep on women, like your sensei. What? No, I don't peep on women. He said quickly. I came here with some friends. Naruto was getting nervous at the look that Kurenai was giving him. Her expression cracked however. Okay. Just stay on that side. She said, pointing to the opposite side of the bath. Naruto quickly entered. So who are you here with? Kiba asked. Oh, just some friends. He said, while Kiba deadpanned. Yeah, I heard you the first time. I was asking for names. Why are you so interested? He asked defensively. Why are you so defensive? I'm curious. It was at this moment that Yugito walked in, and sat down next to Naruto. If you look, she gave a forewarning. I won't. God, why does everyone think I'm a pervert? He said exasperatedly. Because of your jutsu. Kiba offered. That jutsu has real-world battle applications. He said indignantly. No it doesn't, you're just a pervert. Yeah it does, and I'm not a pervert. So you go out into the open battlefield, get everyone to look at you, then you change into a blonde, and everyone's out like a light. No, it's supposed to work on an individual level. What if the individual isn't a pervert, or a woman? It's a trump card. Keep telling yourself that. You just created that jutsu so you could look at yourself in the mirror. What? Naruto turned a bright red. I've never done that once. I am willing to bet a large amount of money that that's the exact reason the jutsu was made. It wasn't. It so was. Who is she? Shino interrupted. Naruto looked at Yugito in realization. Oh, sorry, this is Yugito, and these people are Hinata, Shino, Kiba, and Kurenai-sensei. He said, gesturing to each of them in turn. Where are the others? He asked Yugito. Still getting ready. She said to him. It's nice to meet you. Yugito said, greeting the other occupants. Her chakra is abnormal, like yours. Shino said in monotone. This made her tense up immediately. She mumbled out. Naruto didn't know if Yugito being a Jinchuriki was a secret that needed to be kept. We can't tell you. Why? Naruto got out with difficulty. Better safe than sorry. I wasn't looking for an explanation, I was just making an observation. This made Naruto and Yugito visibly relax. Oh Christ Shino, you are a strange one. Naruto said, it felt like he almost had a heart attack. Shino looked on impassively. How do you know Naruto-kun? Hinata said quietly. We met yesterday at the peace talks, he's showing me around Konoha. Peace talks? You're from a different village? Kurenai asked. Cloud. Since when were we having peace talks with Cloud? I thought that we were still on bad terms after the Hyuga incident. The peace talks happened yesterday, and it's a long story as to why it happened. Yugito stated. Enter Fu, Tamari, and Kuretsuchi, who all sat down opposite of Team 8. Fu moaned out when she hit the water. I love hot springs. There aren't any good ones in Waterfall. Or at least any that would let her in. Waterfall is in on the peace talks as well. Kurenai asked. Waterfall was on good terms with Konoha, but there weren't any formal treaties with it. Oh, the peace talks, yeah, Waterfall is there too. She said offhandedly, not really caring at the moment. Yo, I'm Kuretsuchi of Stone, and this is Fu of Waterfall, and Tamari of Sand. Kuretsuchi said, introducing the rest of their group. Kiba introduced Team 8, while Kurenai's eyes went wide. There are peace talks with Stone, Sand, Cloud, and Waterfall. This wasn't just delegates coming to talk about peace treaties and trade agreements. This was the formation of an alliance. Yeah, Tsunade Granny is going to talk about it at her inauguration. Naruto said, sinking into the soothing waters of the spring. Should I be talking about this? Meh, I don't really care, Granny owes me. Naruto thought to himself. All of Naruto's group began to thoroughly sink into relaxation. After about half an hour, Kuretsuchi's eyes opened with a mischievous glint, and after about 5 minutes of inner debate over whether or not she should do what she was thinking of doing, she asked Naruto a question. Can you grab me the brush over there? She said, pointing out of the bath. Naruto's eyes opened up. Oh, sure. Naruto began to get up, paying special attention to keep the towel over his sensitive area. Just when he was out of the water, Kuretsuchi pinched an edge of his towel, and pulled hard. The towel came off. He yelled in surprise and turned around to face Kuretsuchi, who still had his towel, inadvertently flashing all of the occupants of the bath. Hinata fainted and sunk into the water. Kiba's eyes grew wide. Shino didn't look the least bit perturbed, and also went over to make sure Hinata didn't drown. Fu sported a mighty blush. Tamari looked away quickly. Yugito stared without a care in the world, and Kurenai's eyes opened up just in time to see the flashing. Her eyes narrowed just as fast, and began to start a genjutsu. Naruto quickly covered himself. No. Wait. I don't. Naruto, too flustered to talk, ran quickly back into the locker room area. Kuretsuchi was giggling madly. It wasn't that she wanted to see his junk, it was just that she found extreme pleasure in seeing him embarrassed. She twirled around his towel, and looked at Yugito. See? I told you. Correlations. Correlations indeed. I'm going to check up on him. He didn't look to be in the best of emotional states when he ran off after all. She went into the locker room, only to find a note reading, "I'm at home." Yugito shrugged, walked into the bathing area, and informed its other occupants. Fu looked at Kuretsuchi and asked, "Don't you think that was a bit much?" Kuretsuchi gained her trademark mischievous smile. "Oh, I didn't see you looking away. But, that's, Fu started to fumble for words. "That's what I thought," Kuretsuchi said, ending the conversation. Back with Naruto, we would see him making a few pit stops at various stores before making his way back home. When Naruto's wives decided that they had enough of the hot springs, they headed back home as well. When they arrived, they saw that Naruto was busying himself with cooking dinner. It looked good: chicken, potatoes, and various other greens, all looking like they were cooked, or in the process of being cooked to perfection. "You can cook?" Tamari asked. "I just follow the instructions on the book, it's no big deal." "Still, this much. I wanted to make you guys feel a little bit more at home," Naruto responded angelically. A bit too angelically. The food was almost done, so everyone took spots at the dinner table. Naruto mentally marked where everyone was sitting, and then brought the food over, with a fox-like smirk on his lips all along the way. The food was really good. It wasn't perfect. After all, perfection couldn't be expected from someone who had just made the dishes for the first time. But it did make everyone feel better about the arrangements that was forced upon them. If only slightly. Kuretsuchi felt particularly guilty for what she did at the baths. She didn't expect him to put it behind him so fast, or that he would make such a delicious meal for all of them in spite of it. She felt an innate desire to apologize to him, but when she made eye contact with him, and she saw such innocent, genuine eyes, the words died in her throat. How could she explain to him why she had done it? "I find pleasure in seeing you embarrassed," is hardly an acceptable apology. It's a really good thing that she didn't apologize, as Naruto might have felt bad for what was planning to do to her. He still would have done it, but he would have felt slightly guilty about it. "So Yugito, you never did tell us how we did in our spar," Fu stated. "Oh yeah." Yugito paused to swallow the food in her mouth. "Well, she pointed to Naruto, "need to work on taijutsu, or at least the grappling and counter-evasion aspect of it. Fu would have won multiple times over before the spar ended with all of the holds she put you in." Yugito paused again to stuff her face full of food and swallow. "And she pointed to Fu this time, "need to work on foresight. Or at least consider any traps or ambushes that the enemy might have made." "What about Naruto?" Tamari said, cutting in. "He rushed into every engagement. He only rushed in when he knew that Fu couldn't have made any traps, such as with the taijutsu engagements. After that, he had clones attack Fu before he went in." Naruto smiled with a mouth full of food, and started scratching the back of his head in embarrassment. He hadn't actually done that purposefully, that was just how it worked out for him. "Hey Yugito," asked Naruto, "how do I go into my mindscape by myself?" "You just think hard about it. Okay. Define, think hard. Stop thinking of anything other than the Kyuubi, or the mindscape, and you'll get Ed right in. It might be hard the first few times, but you'll get used to it. Do you have anything to ask it?" "Nothing really. I just thought that the Kyuubi might get lonely, and would want someone to talk to. Yugito and Matabi have never really conversed other than when necessary, but they both have a grudging respect and trust in each other. That trust is needed when the tailed beast is given free reign of the mindscape." Although she knew that B and Gyuki talked a lot, she had always thought of B as a very unique shinobi. So she was slightly surprised when she heard Naruto basically say that he was going the friendship route. "Well, be careful, the tailed beasts aren't the most sociable of things." Okay. At this point the food was almost all eaten up, and everyone had decided to go to bed early. As they hadn't had the best of awakenings the prior morning, everyone went to their rooms, and Naruto to the couch again. He put on his trusty penguin sleeping hat, and started to feign sleep. Naruto waited until he heard snoring from Kuretsuchi's and Fu's room, before he snuck in, and enacted his plan. Oh 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 oh. Yugito woke up extremely thirsty, and started to wonder whether or not she should leave the confines of her king-sized bed to get some water. However, soon the thirst became so unbearable, that she had no other choice than to walk to the kitchen to get some water. On her way back from the kitchen, she noticed Naruto sleeping on the couch. Or, more accurately, she noticed the position that he was sleeping in. It looked really uncomfortable. He even had a pained expression on his face as he slept. She knew that she should have just let it alone, but upon remembering the dinner that he made everyone, and his embarrassing scene at the bathhouse, she figured that he could at least use some comfortable sleep. He was just a kid, after all. She walked over, and tried to position his body in a more comfortable state. Which only made it look worse. She tried again, only to succeed in knocking Naruto off of the couch, subsequently waking him up. Huh, what? Oh, it's only you, Yugito, what do you want? He said, in between various states of confusion. He noticed that she was in Neko pajamas. You looked uncomfortable, so I tried to position you better. She said in a slightly embarrassed tone. Naruto sighed. I'm fine, you don't need to worry. He climbed back onto the couch, into a sleeping position, which still looked extremely uncomfortable. Look, Sayu can sleep in my bed tonight. He's just a child, right? So it should be okay. Oh, it's fine. No, it's not. That couch looks really uncomfortable. It was true. That couch was definitely not designed for being slept upon. If it's really okay, just stick to your side, and I'll stick to mine. She gave him a small smile. Naruto smiled back at her. Oh 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 oh. He was having trouble sleeping. He had never slept in the same bed with someone else, so he didn't know the etiquette. As he was busy worrying over what he was, and wasn't supposed to do, he didn't notice that Yugito hadn't fallen asleep as well. That's a cute hat, Yugito said, in regards to his sleepwear. Apparently, she was having trouble sleeping in the same bed as well. Oh, thanks. Naruto was slightly surprised, as he thought that she had fallen asleep. Having trouble falling asleep? She asked. Yeah, I've never slept in the same bed with someone else before. Neither have I, Yugito responded sleepily. Oh, haven't you had, a boyfriend before? Yugito's eyes opened upon realizing her slip of the tongue. Well, when people are scared that you might lose it at a moment's notice, transform into a giant two-tailed cat, and started murdering people. Potential suitors stopped showing up. She said quietly. I thought Kumo really liked their Jinchuriki. Why do people think that you would do that? It's happened before. Naruto's eyes opened wide in surprise. She sat up from bed. Now fully awake. She had a slightly somber expression on her face. Don't tell anyone else what I am about to tell you. Oh okay, Naruto said in a nervous tone. She breathed out a might sigh, and started her story. When I was a kid, the Third Shinobi War was happening. I was the Jinchuriki of Matabi at the time. We have a process in which Jinchuriki can attain the full powers of their tailed beasts through a method of self-realization, but children, for some reason, can't do that. I was an untapped war asset, so instead, I was put through a detestable regimen, where I would learn how to use the Biju's power. It eventually worked, and I was put on a genin team, to help with my lack of teamwork abilities. I loved them. We ate together, slept around the campfire together, laughed together. I finally had friends. Her eyes started to tear up. On our third deployment into the battlefield with 5 other teams, we were ambushed by Leaf Ninja. It was at least 10 to 1 odds. She paused. My friends both died instantly. There were no heartfelt last words. There were no tearful goodbyes. They were just gone. I remember a feeling of pure, unadulterated rage, and that's all I remember of the battle. When I came to, I was being carried back to Kumo by the lone survivor of the conflict, a Jonin that I didn't know. Apparently I lost it, and turned into Matabi. I was told that I had killed everyone, even people who were on my side. The Jonin must have told other people what happened, because after that, I was held at arm's length by everyone at Kumo. I don't think that I was ever hated. After all, I had killed scores of Leaf Ninja. Without me, the entire platoon would have died, and the Leaf Ninja would have continued to live. But with me, at least 100 of the Leaf Shinobi died. It didn't matter how in control of my emotions I had become, it didn't matter that I had accomplished self-realization, and gained full control of my powers. People didn't trust me, and ever since then, I've been alone. A lone tear slid down her cheek. I trust you, Naruto said quietly. Huh, I trust you. She gave a dry, choked laugh. You hardly know me, but still, I trust you. And why do you trust me? I don't know, you just seem like a trustworthy person. Hey, thanks, she said, slightly sarcastically. I know what loneliness feels like. It feels horrible, like nobody even accepts your existence, like nobody will acknowledge you. I don't want anyone to ever feel that pain. Naruto said, in a moment of sincere seriousness. The reason I fight is to protect the people who acknowledge me, my most precious people. If I fight to protect you, will you fight to protect me? He offered a fist. She looked at it for a while. Sure. They bumped knuckles. So how does it feel? What? Not being alone anymore, Naruto said with a grin that almost split his face. Yugito looked upon his smiling visage, and said silently uttered, it feels good. They both laid down to rest, and proceeded to have the best night's sleep that either of them had ever had in their respective lives. Naruto woke up the next morning in a bit of a pickle. Namely, he was being spooned by Yugito. She didn't just have an arm draped over him. She was completely hugging him, with both her arms and legs holding on tight to him. It was the type of hold that someone would expect another to use on a teddy bear, or a hugging pillow. The perfect glomp. Needless to say, Naruto couldn't break free. Not without waking up Yugito, and he was very afraid of what would happen if she was suddenly awoken while they were in that position. They might have bonded last night, but Naruto still didn't understand the enigma that was the female mind. So he went back to sleep. It was rather comfortable in that position after all. And since she was the big spoon, once she woke up, she wouldn't be able to blame him. Kuretsuchi woke up the next morning in a bit of a pickle as well. Namely, all of her clothes that she took with her via storage seal were dyed a bright, neon pink. The only other thing that she had that wasn't dyed pink was her sleepwear, which consisted of black mesh panties and a plain, white t-shirt. She couldn't go outside in either wear. She quickly put on pink pants, and stormed out of her room to look for Naruto. Fu was just glad that the source of the snoring had vanished, and that she was able to get some more shut-eye. Oh. Kuretsuchi checked the entire house, sans Temari's or Yugito's rooms, but couldn't find him. He must have gone to mission assignment, or something, Kuretsuchi figured. She wouldn't be able to go back to sleep, not since she was so fired up at the moment. So she put her excess energy into making herself breakfast. Getting angry in the morning with no outlet for it really makes one hungry. She cracked some eggs into a bowl, and started to furiously beat it into egg paste. After that, she cut up some ham and greens, and mixed those in as well. And fried the whole thing. It turned out to be a huge omelet. She had put too many eggs in. But, in her fired up state, she decided that the omelet wouldn't go to waste, and was determined to eat the whole thing. She placed the huge omelet on the table, and sat down in the chair that she had sat in the previous night. She wasn't expecting it to collapse under her weight. Kuretsuchi shrieked as she fell down. She was not expecting that. She grumpily got up, and sat down on another chair to begin eating, but only got halfway before she needed to stop and rest. Oh. Tamari walked in on a strange situation. Kuretsuchi was on the couch, holding onto her distended stomach, while groaning. She was wearing horrible pink neon pants, and there was half of a huge omelet on the table, where there was a broken chair next to it. Tamari chose not to comment, and sat down to eat some of the huge omelet. Fu walked in, sat down, and began eating the omelet without comment as well. It was a surreal sight. It was 9:30 before they had eaten their fill, and Tamari decided to wake Yugito up for the day. Which led to Tamari walking in on another strange situation. Naruto was being held to Yugito like a hugging pillow in the bed that they were sharing. There was a sheet covering them, so she couldn't be sure of their states of dress. She quickly closed the door before she could wake up its inhabitants. With a blush on her face, she re-entered the kitchen. Yugito was, with Naruto, Tamari said, unsure of how to articulate what she saw. What? Kuretsuchi questioned loudly, sitting up. He was here all this time. Kuretsuchi muttered under her breath. Were they? She made the hand motion for. I don't know. Tamari said, still blushing. Blah, wow. Fu was a loss for words. An affliction that seemed remarkably common as of late. I am killing that kid. Kuretsuchi said, getting up from the couch. Why? They are married, after all. Fu stated, with a heavy blush. He works fast, Tamari muttered under her breath. What? No. He dyed all of my clothes pink. She cried indignantly. They breathed out. Oh. Now understanding Kuretsuchi's choice of clothing. But, if they were, Tamari paused, then wouldn't Yugito get angry if you attacked him? Kuretsuchi looked like she was on the verge of exploding. Like I give any s. All of my clothes are ruined. I can't go outside. Well, you did make him flash his friends, Fu said. Kuretsuchi turned around and punched a wall. On the back of her t-shirt were the characters for Pinkatsuchi. Neither Fu nor Tamari decided to bring that up. They all heard the door to Yugito's room open. None of them moved as they heard Yugito slowly walk into the kitchen area, wearing her Neko pajamas. You guys are really loud. Yugito said, sitting down. She started to stretch her body out, while sitting at the table. Ah, that was the best night ever. She said, unknowingly confirming an untrue notion held by the three other kunoichi. Yugito began to dig into the omelet, which was almost gone. Yu-ing Shotokan. Never let it be said that Pinkatsuchi was not blunt. Yugito spat out her food in surprise. What? You ed Naruto. Isn't he like half your age? Pinkatsuchi asked. I didn't anybody. Yugito cried incredulously, which was rather out of character for her. Then why were you two sharing a bed, while you clung onto him like a hugging pillow? Tamari asked. He looked uncomfortable on the couch. So I let him sleep with me. Yugito, at this point, was sporting a massive blush. Then why were you cuddling him? I must have done it in my sleep. Silence reigned amongst the four wives of Naruto Uzumaki. Yugito was glaring at all of them, as if daring them to say something. The door to Yugito's room opened again. None of them moved as they heard Naruto slowly walk into the kitchen area, wearing his pajamas. You guys are really loud. Naruto said, sitting down. He noticed that they were all glaring at him. What? Nothing. Yugito said. Nothing. You dyed all my clothes pink. Pinkatsuchi cried out. Well, don't mess with the prankster king of Konoha. Naruto said nonchalantly. He began to chow down on the nearly gone omelet. Naruto, what did you do? Yugito said dangerously. I dyed all of her clothes pink, and messed with the chair that she sat down in last night. He looked at the pile of timber that used to be a chair. That was you too. You shouldn't prank people. You are a chunin from Konohagakure, act like it. Yugito stated. Yes ma'am, Naruto said, with his head lowered. She looked at him with affection. Yugito didn't love him, at least not romantically. To her, he was like an annoying little brother, or at least what she thought having an annoying little brother would be like. He was immature, and loud. But he understood her. And she did care for him in that way. To make someone so closed off from other people able to trust him in a matter of less than 24 hours is nothing less than remarkable. But he was Naruto, that's sort of his mo. That in Yugito has always unconsciously had a desire to connect with other people, something that she was unable to do back in Kumo. Pinkatsuchi looked like she was about to murder him, but decided it unwise when she received a glare from Yugito. She sighed in defeat. Hey Tamari, I'm going to borrow some of your clothes. Tamari didn't deny her that luxury. When Yugito's attention was drawn back to breakfast, Naruto looked over his shoulder and started making faces at Pinkatsuchi. Her left eyebrow began to twitch violently. I am getting him back for this. Some ninja continue the cycle of hatred through senseless killing and a lack of understanding. Kuretsuchi and Naruto would continue the cycle of pranks, though lots of glue, rubber, dye, and absolutely no apologies. And it would be glorious. To them at least. Oh. Front gates of Konoha. Team 7's mission had not gone well. It was a success, but it would not be an understatement to say that the mission went foobar. It had ended with Sasuke and Sakura knocked out due to injuries, and Kakashi carrying both of them back to Konoha. Nobody was in a good mood. Or more accurately to say, nobody would be in a good mood once everyone was woken up. After handing both of them to the hospital, he headed down to the mission assignment to give his report. Oh. Back at the house. Hey Fu, can you help me with my taijutsu? Naruto asked, using the sweetest voice that he could conjure. I can. Yada. But what's in it for me? She said with a smirk on her face. Naruto deflated, but quickly rose up to the challenge. What do you want? Quote. Well, I don't want anything at the moment. She replied cheekily. I'll owe you one. Naruto said enticingly. And what would you owe me? Anything. She looked at him with slight mischief in her eyes. Within reason, he quickly added once he saw the look in her eyes. Please. Naruto said in a slightly whining voice. Okay. It's not like I have anything better to do. Yada. He ran out the door, and bid Fu to follow him. I'm going shopping, Kuretsuchi said. She traded out her pink pants with some of Temari's normal brown pants, one of the few pairs of pants that she owned, but neglected to change shirts. So she was still walking around with Pinkatsuchi on her back. I'll go with you, Tamari said. I'll go too, Yugito said as well. They both went to change into their outdoor clothing, and met up at the door. Oh. Training Ground 17. Training Ground 17 was basically just a flat, grassy plain. Perfect for taijutsu, or genjutsu training. Okay. What do you want to know? Taijutsu. Fu deadpanned. What aspect of taijutsu? What did Yugito say I needed to work on? Naruto asked sheepishly. Grappling, and counter evasion. Okay. Got it. What's grappling and counter evasion? Fu deadpanned again. Grappling is basically using an opponent's momentum against them, using grabs, feints and throws. Counter evasion is evading the opponent's strikes, usually when they counter, or grab you. Wow, you're really smart. Not really, it's just the basics of taijutsu. Well, we weren't taught that in the academy in Konoha. We weren't either. I learned this from my sensei. What have you been learning? Chakra control exercises, teamwork, she nodded. That's it. What? That's it. Chakra control and teamwork exercises. How long have had your sensei? About half a year. What? That's insane. We take missions too, he said indignantly. So have I. I've had my sensei for a year, and he's taught me taijutsu, genjutsu, kenjutsu, ninjutsu, survival techniques. Who is this guy? He could teach Kakashi sensei a few things about being a teacher. Fu adopted a sullen look. He died a month ago, on a secret mission. Oh, sorry. What about your other teammates? Never had any. I was assigned to my sensei along with two others, but their parents had them taken out of my team, so it was just me and sensei. I'm sorry for your loss. It's okay. She took a deep breath. Let's get started. Get in your normal combat stance. He did so. Both legs bent into a crouch, with the arms in front of the torso and face. Okay, I'm going to throw a punch at you. Do what you do normally when someone tries to hit you. She wound back her arm, and threw a forward punch aimed at his torso, which he blocked with one of his arms, and bent his torso slightly forward, to make the shock from the blow lessen it by having it be delivered through more surface area. Okay, that was a good block. But when possible, it's more effective to parry the blow. He leveled a questioning stare. She sighed. To parry means to redirect away from the body. For example, try to hit me. He took his stance again, and threw a right-handed punch at her torso. She raised her left arm, and pushed his arm to her side of her. He lost his balance, and almost fell on his face. Parrying is more effective because it causes less harm on the body, it also takes less energy to perform, and if used correctly can be used to unbalance the target. However, it can be slightly difficult to perform, and blocking is better used when facing against a faster opponent, as a failed parry can leave openings that the enemy could take advantage of. Naruto was soaking this up like a sponge. Wow, you're already a better teacher than Kakashi-sensei. Fu glowed at his praise. She wasn't used to being looked up at with such admiring eyes. Teaching is kinda fun. Okay, I want you to try to parry. Yosh, he said with a salute. She her fist back, and threw it at his torso. He tried to mimic her previous move, but was a bit late. He moved the punch, but it clipped his shoulder. He cried out in pain and surprise. I forgot to mention, if you partially parry the hit, then you run the risk of directing it somewhere else on your body, which might be more devastating, because your body wouldn't be ready to defend in that particular area. You tell me that now, he said, slightly miffed. Okay, do that again, I want to get this down right. Okay. She repeated the move, albeit slower, to give him a better chance at misdirecting the hit. He succeeded this time, even if he exaggerated his movements a bit too much. Yada. I got it right. That was good, but now I'm going to show you how to parry other blows. Yosh. She began to train Naruto in earnest, with her instructing him on the different blows, and how to parry them aside. It took up most of the rest of the morning, and a good chunk of the afternoon for him to get the moves down. They were both huffing slightly after the strenuous training. You've got the moves down, but now you have to map them to muscle memory. She said. What? In all taijutsu matches, you don't get the opportunity to think about your next move when you're trading blows. So you have to go through taijutsu movements often enough that when you are fighting, your body reacts to the enemy's movements without you having to think about it. Ah, Naruto said in realization. He sat down on the grass. Can we take a break? He asked. Yeah, sure. She sat down as well. He clasped his hands together, closed his eyes, and scrunched up his brow. What are you doing? I'm trying to enter my mindscape while my body rests. Oh, smart. I should probably do that too. Naruto began to devoid any thoughts from entering his mind other than that of the Kyuubi and the mindscape. It was surprisingly difficult, as his brain was always trying to wander off onto other subjects. He opened his eyes to exclaim how impossible it was to focus on one thing, but his words died in his mouth. Before him was the Kyuubi no Kitsune, in all of its nine-tailed glory. It opened its red eyes. Its sclera was red as well, which was abnormal, as usually only the iris was red. What do you want, pitiful human? You just want to talk. Silence permeated the mindscape. Leave. The Kyuubi closed its eyes, and settled back down to sleep. No. Its eyes opened up, this time in anger. Leave. You pitiful human, I have no words to trade with you. The Kyuubi all but shouted at him. No. The Kyuubi roared at him. It was an ear-deafening, heart-rending shout, that bespoke only of hatred and malice. Why won't you, damn humans, just leave me alone, for once in my life? Naruto stood his ground. Because I don't want anyone to know the pain of being alone. The Kyuubi was huffing and puffing, it eventually laid back down, gave one more tremendous exhale, and leveled a glare at Naruto. You aren't going to leave me alone. Are you? The Kyuubi asked exasperatedly. Nope. The Kyuubi gave another sigh. But remained silent. Naruto decided to begin the conversation. What gender are you? This caught the Kyuubi's attention. I don't have one. Why do you ask? Or more importantly, why do you need to know? Well, when you were talking to the Nibi and the Hachibi, you all called each other, it, and I was curious why you did that. Also, how can you not have a gender? The Kyuubi sighed again, it really didn't want to talk right now. I am a huge amount of chakra that has gained sentience over itself. I don't have a gender, because I can't reproduce. So, I lack a pronoun other than it. But you sound like a male, is it okay if I call you he? Is it okay if I call you she? I don't have a gender, but that means that I don't identify with either female or male. Just refer to me by it, or the Kyuubi. But, when something is called it, that means that it's an object without any sentience. So invent a new gender-neutral pronoun that can be used on beings of either no, or an unspecified gender. But until you do that, call me it. That appeared to be the end of the discussion, because the Kyuubi got up, and turned around to lay down. It also flattened its ears against its head, signifying the lack of a want to listen anymore. Oh. Fu was having a very different discussion in her mindscape. Hiya, I'm Chome, but you can call me lucky number 7 feet. Fu deadpanned. This, talking to your Biju, thing was going to be easier than she expected. Oh. Training Ground 17, Physical World. Hey Naruto, wake up, Tenten screamed into Naruto's ear. He was as still as stone. This was weird. Tenten and Neji had just walked into their favorite training ground, and they had been greeted with the sight of Naruto meditating on the ground, next to an unknown Kunoichi. Both of whom wouldn't react in the slightest to their prodding. Do you think something's wrong? She asked Neji. I don't know. Do you recognize the Kunoichi? Nope. Naruto's eyes opened suddenly. I don't. Naruto went silent when he realized that he and Fu had visitors. Hey Tenten, hey Neji. He said amiably. Hey Naruto. So what were you doing just now? And who is she? Tenten asked. I was just meditating. And this is Fu. He gestured to the meditating Kunoichi. So you came over here just to meditate? Asked Neji. Well, we were doing training before that. Oh, Neji, I wanna try something. Naruto got up, and stretched a bit. Try to hit me. What? Just do it. Okay. Neji slowly got into his gentle fist stance, and threw a palm strike at Naruto. It was a simple palm strike towards the torso. One which Naruto read a mile away, and was able to redirect away from him. Neji, who was surprised by the parry, lost his balance, and stumbled to the side. Pretty cool, huh? Fu's been teaching me how to parry. Naruto said with pride. Isn't parrying a term used for kenjutsu techniques? Tenten asked. I don't know. Fu said that it was used in taijutsu. Well, you certainly surprised me. Neji said. So how has Bushy Brows been? Was Granny able to fix him? They both grew somber expressions. Lee has a 50% of surviving the operation. He and Guy talked it over, and they decided to go through with it. Tenten said. Oh, that Yua. That S. Naruto said, unsure of what is proper to say in that situation. Yeah, it does. Fu woke up suddenly, interrupting Tenten mid-sentence. You'll never guess. Fu grew silent as well, after noticing the company. Hey Fu, this is Neji and Tenten. He gestured to the two shinobi. What were you going to say? Well, I don't think that I should in present company. Fu said evasively. Why wouldn't we be able to hear it? Tenten asked. It's a secret. Nice one, Fu. Okay. Tenten didn't pry any further. Your mission was a success, I presume. Neji said. Oh, I never went on the mission. Pervy Sage needed to talk to me right before they left. Well, I heard that it went pretty badly. Both Sakura and Sasuke were hospitalized. What? Are they okay? Yeah, they're both walking around thanks to Tsunade-sama. Apparently it was just extreme exhaustion. I need to go see if they're okay. Are we done with parrying, Fu? Well, yeah, but what you needed help with was grappling and counter evasion. I taught you parrying because it's necessary for teaching you both of those other concepts. Teach me another time. Fu sighed in exasperation. Okay, but I'm coming with you to meet your teammates. Why? Because I don't have anything better to do. Fu spoke in deadpan. Okay, let's get going. Naruto sped off to the hospital with Fu in tow. Both Tenten and Neji looked on at the pair. Well, that was different than usual. Tenten said. It was. Neji said in agreement. Oh 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 oh. Hidden sound base. And how accurate is this information? Orochimaru asked Kabuto from his sickbed. Extremely, sir. All 4 cages have been seen having discussions, and I have seen the 5 Jinchuriki for myself. Orochimaru growled. This was going to substantially complicate his getting Sasuke away from Konoha plan. Most of the top-level shinobi were constantly away on missions, to show that Konoha was still strong. So there were only low-level shinobi left, who wouldn't be able to stop his plan from coming to fruition. But if the cages really were all talking together at the same time, then that could mean an alliance. An alliance which would mean that the rest of the Jinchuriki stationed in Konoha might be accosted to help with taking back Sasuke. Orochimaru knew of the Sound Four's combat prowess, but he also knew almost for certain that they would be found out by Konoha, and that a chase would ensue. A chase that they would be taken over by if 5 Jinchuriki followed them. Kabuto, get someone strong, I need to be carried somewhere. Yes sir. Kabuto quickly went to find the most physically imposing sound shinobi he could find. Luckily enough, Orochimaru knew just the organization that was focusing on capturing all of the Jinchuriki. An organization that he used to be a part of. An organization that he knew would help him if it meant they would be closer to their plan. Akatsuki. Oh. Academy Administration. Tsunade was having a slightly hectic day. First, she had to get all the cages together and give them the seals for the Hirishin. The Hirishin tags would be useless, until applied to a flat surface. They were all very wary of her idea of transporting the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki. But after a lot of pleading, threatening, and just the tiniest bit of blackmailing, they all reluctantly agreed to it. After all, she could only send one person to each village at a time. Even if Konoha decided to betray them, there couldn't be much damage at all from a single Hirishin seal, of which could simply be destroyed. After that, they departed to their respective villages, each leaving their retainers in Konoha. Tsunade then went back to her studies. After meeting with Lee, and telling him news that would crush any normal person's dream, he met with his sensei and they both decided that he would go through with the operation that only had 50% chance of succeeding. This inspired her to at least go back through her medical studies, in an effort to up the percentage. Then Jiraiya decided to crash through the window. Tsunade didn't outwardly react, and only gave an exasperated, "What do you want, Jiraiya? Ah, can't an old friend come over to say hello? I'm busy, what do you want? Do you know where Naruto is? I thought he was under your jurisdiction. Well, I can't find him. He's not in the house, not at any of the training grounds, not at the ramen stand. Maybe he's at the hospital. Why would he be there? Because the rest of his team came back from their mission in such a bad shape, that I had to go over and heal them personally. And they were just exhausted, so that was a waste of time. And now here you are, wasting my time." Tsunade yelled. He quickly put up his hands. Okay, I'll leave you alone. And promptly jumped out another window. Tsunade sighed and went back to her medical texts. Oh. The hospital. Naruto and Fu were in the waiting room, waiting to be allowed permission to see Sakura and Sasuke. So what are your teammates like? Wheel. Sakura-chan is really nice, and pretty, and she's also a great ninja. Sasuke-tem is kind of a but he can be nice at times, and he's dependable as a shinobi. I can't wait to meet them. Yeah, I hope that they're okay. They're fine, You heard Tenten, they're already walking around. Fu said assuredly. I hope so. The nurse in charge of Sasuke's and Sakura's well-being bade them over, and told them that they were allowed to see the two. Naruto walked hastily to the room that they were being held in, and opened the door. Sakura was in bed, resting, and Sasuke was up, looking out the room's window. Naruto put up a big, cheesy grin. Hey Tem, how'd the mission go? Sasuke looked at him. How do you think? We completed the mission, but Kakashi had to finish it, and carry us back to Konoha. Sasuke noticed Fu. Who is she? Oh, hi, I'm Fu. Fu said slightly sheepishly. She still wasn't very sociable around new people. Fu's been teaching me taijutsu. Naruto said with a grin. And she's really good at it. Fu started to blush. She wasn't used to receiving such vocal exclamations of her prowess as a ninja. Especially in front of other people. Sasuke started to seethe. Why was Naruto so strong? How was Naruto so strong? He was the dead last in the academy, and now, Naruto was dangerously close to being stronger than Sasuke. No, he wasn't dangerously close to being stronger than Sasuke, he was stronger than Sasuke. The one who beat Haku was Naruto. The one who beat Gaara was Naruto. And Sasuke just got pushed around by some queer-looking shinobi with lightning sword. And now Naruto was receiving instruction from a taijutsu expert. This did not bode well for Sasuke. It's not that Sasuke didn't like Naruto, it's not that Sasuke didn't think that Naruto deserved that power. No, it's just that Sasuke felt useless, and weak next to Naruto. He made up his mind to kill his brother, and avenge his clan. He wouldn't be able to do that with how weak he was. Sasuke glared at Naruto, and unveiled his Sharingan, unnerving both Naruto and Fu. He was also very frustrated, and the constant pain of the curse mark didn't help in the slightest. Naruto, fight me. Huh, fight me. Like, right now. On the roof, right now. But, you're injured. Tsunade just healed me. What's wrong? I thought you had wanted to fight. Did you chicken out? No, if you want to fight, then let's fight. Sasuke walked out of the room, and began to go up the stairs to the roof. Naruto followed him. Fu gave Naruto a queer look, which he just responded with a shrug. Once they were up on the roof, they stood across from each other. I've been waiting to fight you for a long time, Tem. Whatever you say, failure. Sasuke adopted a battle stance. First, put on your headband. HMPH, you won't be able to put a single scratch on my head, so why bother? That's not it, the headband signifies that we are equal shinobi of the hidden leaf. You will never be my equal, failure. Put it on. Sasuke, instead, rushed Naruto. When he got close enough, Sasuke threw a punch at Naruto. Naruto had been waiting, and pushed the oncoming fist to the side of him, causing Sasuke to stumble slightly. Naruto took advantage of the opening, and threw a punch at Sasuke's face. The fist was blocked, and Sasuke jumped back, to give himself some space. The failure has been training. Woohoo, I actually pulled off that parry. Fu, who had been watching on the sidelines, gave a light smile. Sasuke charged at Naruto once again, this time going in for a side kick. Naruto caught the kick, but Sasuke just fell to the ground on his hands, and with some quick maneuvering, raised his other leg to strike Naruto's face. Naruto released his leg, and stumbled back. Sasuke jumped to his feet, and rushed him, throwing quick, successive punches at the blonde. The strikes were coming too fast for Naruto to think about parrying, so his body reacted, blocked the majority of them. When Naruto's guard was down, Sasuke wound back his arm, and sent a straight punch for Naruto's face. Naruto brushed the punch to the side, but Sasuke was anticipating that, and head-butted the blonde using the momentum from the punch. Naruto stumbled back again, and raced into the sheets that were hanging up. Sasuke stood and watched the wall of white, waiting for any indication that Naruto was in there. A sudden flap of one of the sheets drew Sasuke's attention. He raced towards it, hoping to catch Naruto off guard. Shadow Clone no Jutsu was shouted out. Sasuke was surrounded by clones, some he could see, and others that were behind sheets. This wasn't good, the Sharingan's predictive abilities were only good on what he could see. Clones raced at him from all sides. One jumped on his back, but he threw it off of him, into a group of other clones. Another tried a jump attack, but Sasuke caught the appendage and threw the clone into another group. Two clones raced at him from the side, the one on the left threw a punch at his head, the other, to his torso. Sasuke fell onto the ground, and caught them both in the chin with either of his feet. Four different clones side-tackled him, while he was on his hands, and shouted out, Uzumaki, with corresponding hits to Sasuke's body. He was launched in the air, and quickly began going through hand seals, ending in the tiger seal. And spewed forth flames at the clones on the ground, dispelling them. Naruto Barrage. Sasuke had anticipated the blonde to be above him, so as he turned in midair, he crossed both arms on his chest, but was met with a clone dispelling. He looked on the ground. His flames were being pushed to the side by the Rasengan, which was in the process of being created. Sasuke went through hand seals, and shouted, Chidori. Fu was getting worried, but chose not to intervene. Kakashi was sleeping soundly in the hospital below. Sasuke was getting closer and closer, and just when he began to thrust out his Chidori, Naruto dispelled his Rasengan, and threw all the weight he had into pushing the hand with the Chidori away from him. Naruto still got a shocking jolt for all of his troubles, but he successfully parried the blow away from him. Sasuke fell to the ground, hard. His Chidori had dispelled and he tried to get up, but Naruto jumped on him, and put his arm behind his back. I win, Tem. This was the scene that Jiraiya jumped in on. Hours earlier, Orochimaru was in a large, ovoid room. He was standing, with difficulty, on a sharp protrusion, while going through hand signs. A single silhouette appeared before him on another sharp figure that was hard to distinguish with little else to identify it other than purple eyes with a ripple pattern. How are you able to contact us? We took your ring away. Straight to the point then. I have my ways of getting into contact with people. But more importantly, I need your help, and I can help you. The figure was silent for a while. Continue. There are 5 Jinchuriki currently residing in Konoha, as well as the Uchiha that I need for my new body. I plan to sway him to my side, but Konoha is going to try to chase him down. Konoha has almost no manpower at the moment, and if they are smart, they'll use the Jinchuriki. Orochimaru paused, to make sure that the figure was still with him. Seeing a nod, he continued, I'll send my bodyguards, to sway and carry him back to sound. When they are being pursued, they'll split off in an attempt to stall for time, and if the Leaf have any brain cells left, they'll split off as well. Creating perfect opportunities for your operatives to capture the Jinchuriki. Orochimaru used to belong to Akatsuki, so he knew how they operated. The reason that they were split into 2-man cells was so they could keep track of each other better than if there were more. Having many different S-rank shinobi running around and throwing out huge wide-scale attacks would increase the amount of friendly fires exponentially. Also, there was a need for at least 2 operatives to a given Jinchuriki, any less and they run the risk of having casualties among the organization. Having 10 Akatsuki members and 5 Jinchuriki running around, fighting each other all at the same time would be a complete and utter cluster, so there was a need to separate them from each other and combat them individually. Orochimaru knew that, and made his plan sound as enticing as he could. The Akatsuki weren't planning on capturing the Jinchuriki for a while, but the chance at getting 5 at the same time would be too much for them to pass up. Orochimaru was a shrewd, cunning bastard. The model shinobi. The figure sat in thought for a long time. How strong are your bodyguards? At least A rank level, when fully powered. The figure thought for a longer time still. I will send 5 of my operatives, but your bodyguard unit will have to help in the capturing of the Jinchuriki. An understandable notion, after all, only fools put all their eggs into one basket. Excellent. Orochimaru said, practically salivating. When will your bodyguard unit take the Uchiha? Just be around the border to the land of rice paddies next morning to afternoon. And intervene how you see fit. Keep your end of the bargain, Orochimaru. The figure knew how slippery and conniving the snake was. I will be happy too, so long as the Uchiha makes it to the village hidden in sound, my bodyguards will help you take the Jinchuriki. He left the room, and got onto the back of the imposing shinobi that was waiting outside. He would have to change his orders to the sound 4 slightly, but it should all go accordingly to plan. Oh. Konoha proper. Kuretsuchi was still slightly steamed. She was holding onto her shopping bags very tightly, signifying anger. I don't know what you're so mad about, the pink enhances your eyes. Tamari said. Indeed, wearing pink clothing did bring Kuretsuchi's pink irises out, which made her look far more feminine and pretty. But Kuretsuchi didn't like that. Pink as a color has nowhere it could be successful as camouflage. Orange helps blend in with rocks during the morning and evening, blues help blend in at higher climates, beige helps blend in with the sand, reds and browns help blend in with darker rocks. But pink is a color that could never help to conceal someone, and I hate that so much. Not only that, but I hate the color pink, and bright neon pink is the absolute worst. Why do you hate pink? Yugito asked, disinterestedly. Because it makes me look feminine, and I'm not feminine. You could say that again. Tamari said under her breath. What was that? Kuretsuchi asked belligerently. You're digging yourself deeper. Wait, you said that you didn't like femininity, so what I just said is actually a compliment. It didn't sound like a compliment. It sounded like a dig. Tamari sighed. You have to stop letting people get to you so much, you're going to die of an aneurysm at a young age. Whatever you say, you ing stoic. A tick mark appeared on Temari's forehead. What was that? Isn't stoicism a compliment to a high-caliber shinobi such as yourself? Kuretsuchi said in the most insincere tone possible. I'm not a stoic. Oh please, you're an emotional black hole. I do plenty of fun and emotional things. Kuretsuchi grabbed the bags that she had in her right hand with her left hand, then raised her hand and put up 3 fingers. Name 3. I like flora appreciation. Kuretsuchi ticked down 1 finger. I like training. Doesn't count. Grr. I like spending time with my family. Albeit, this was a fairly new hobby. Kuretsuchi ticked another finger down. I like. Tamari was at a loss for words. Kuretsuchi was waiting for an answer. Whatever. I'm not a stoic. Whatever you say, Stoic-chan. Whatever you say, Pinkatsuchi-chan. What did you call me? Yugito looked on with a light smile on her face. It was kind of fun listening to their interactions. A slightly disarming thought, since they were sister wives. But true nonetheless. A gout of flames appeared on the rooftop of the building that they were next to. Yugito quickly looked. It was a hospital. Her shinobi senses kicked in, and she raced up the walls of the building, with Tamari and Kuretsuchi racing alongside her. They were on the floor under the roof when the flames went out. When they reached the roof, they were met with a strange sight. Their husband was holding down a shinobi with the Sharingan, in an arm hold, with Fu looking on appreciatively, and Jiraiya of the Sannin looking on in slight surprise. Is that the last Uchiha? Yugito asked. She had fought several Uchiha in the Third War, they were difficult opponents. She heard about the massacre, and was slightly relieved at the news that there were only 2 left. However, now she was looking at the one survivor that stayed in Konoha, which unnerved her quite a bit. Huh. Naruto turned around and looked at them in surprise. When did you guys get here? We were surprised when the roof of a hospital suddenly caught fire, so we jumped in to help. Yugito said. Oh, sorry. That's Tem's fault here. Naruto said, releasing Sasuke. You know the last Uchiha? Kuretsuchi asked. They're teammates. Tamari told her. Huh, wow kid, you are connected. Yup. Oh, Tem, they are Yugito, Tamari, and Pinkatsuchi. Kuretsuchi. Tomato. If glares could kill, Sasuke would be committing genocide. Oi, what's wrong, Tem? I beat you fair and square. Now you have no choice to consider me your equal. Naruto said with a cheeky grin. Like I'd do that, failure. Sasuke tried to get up, but failed, and fell down. The fall from such heights had been particularly bad on his legs. Naruto caught him, made a clone, and passed off Sasuke to the clone to bring downstairs, next to Kakashi. Sasuke was trying to punch the clone off of him, but the clone was having none of it. Jiraiya sighed, I'll go get Tsunade. He flickered away. She was in surgery, but he didn't know that. Fu walked up to Naruto. When you said he was you weren't kidding. He usually isn't that bad, I swear. He put on a slightly sad look. Sigh whatever, so what did you guys do today? He said. Well, we went shopping, to replace all of the clothes you ruined. She said vindictively. And I went training, to reclaim the pride I had, which you destroyed when you detoweled me in front of my friends. So we're even. When two people enter a prank war, things never get even. And then one who does concede equality, is always the loser. Kuretsuchi huffed, and looked away. She wasn't going to concede. The three others looked slightly amused by their interactions. Jiraiya flickered back. She's working on that Lee kid now. So I called a med nin. Why does he need a med nin? He's in bad shape, but come on. We need as many shinobi to lighten the load of mission taking as possible, and having the lone Uchiha on mission saves face. So the Tem gets special treatment, huh? Yup. Being the last of line kind of does that to you. What about me? I'm the last Namikaze and the last Uzumaki. Why don't I get special treatment? Says the kid with 4 wives. Naruto blushed and looked to the side. That's a punishment and you know it. Hey kid, what do you mean when you say that? Kuretsuchi said, with a scary look on her face, while cracking her knuckles. Reet, these are the faces of pure joy and happiness, aren't they? He said, gesturing to the rest of his harem, who looked slightly uncomfortable. You got a smart mouth, kid. And you've got a slow one. They glared at each other. Lightning appeared between their eyes. Pervy sage, are you sure we can't get these marriages annulled? I don't think I can handle spending the rest of my life with her. Not if you want war. Holy. Okay. Explain to me, in detail, why these marriages will end war as we know it. The 4 others listening wanted to know as well. Jiraiya sighed, you've been told why. If the common citizens and shinobi see the people that they look up to acting nice with each other, then they'll see that it isn't that difficult, and at the very least, they'll try to make it work as well. Why can't we just hang out with each other? Why do we have to be married? Kid, your marriage is a symbol. The symbol for a long-lasting relationship between the nations. Naruto looked steamed, but relented. Bah, fine. And who knows kid, you might learn to like them. He said with wiggling eyebrows. All 5 of them blushed slightly. You make all females wary of your presence. Tamari said, summing up Jiraiya's character perfectly. Perfectly put Stoic-chan, Kuretsuchi said with a grin. Fu gave a quiet laugh at the nickname. Shut up, Pinkatsuchi. Fu gave a not-so-quiet laugh at the nickname. See, you 5 are bonding already. Jiraiya said with a smile. Naruto decided not to rise to the jab. Why are you here? I wanted to check up on how you're doing mentally. Your whole sulking episode was kind of concerning. But you seem to be fine, so I'll take my leave. Jiraiya flickered away. I think that after learning who my parents were, and then finding out that I'll never find love, I deserve a little sulking time. Naruto said to himself, through clenched teeth. Naruto sighed, an affliction which he seemed to be much more prevalent as of late. So what are you guys going to do? Train, I guess. Kuretsuchi said. I could go for some training. Tamari said, in agreement. Yugito nodded. We can start your training in counter-evasion. Fu said. Woot. Thanks Fu. Hee. Now you owe me 2. What? You owe me 1 for the parrying, now you owe me 1 for the counter-evasion. Naruto sighed. You drive a hard bargain Fu. Okay. Let's go. Oh 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 oh. Hospital room. Sasuke was on the new bed, seething. Kakashi was in the bed next to him, awake now, and reading his ever-present porn. What happened? Quote, comma, quote. Kakashi looked up from his porn, and asked again in a more severe tone, what happened? Naruto beat me. Oh, I'm too weak. He just gets stronger, and I stay the same. I can never enact my vengeance the way I am. Not even the Chidori could beat Naruto. You used the Chidori on Naruto. Kakashi sighed, then closed his book. Sasuke, Naruto is a fellow shinobi of the Hidden Leaf, don't ever use an assassination technique on comrades. Sasuke seethed some more. You should give up on getting revenge for your clan. Sasuke looked at Kakashi in fury. Nobody ever feels fulfilled from vengeance. It consumes their lives, and when they finally have their vengeance, they come to the sudden realization that they have nothing else. How do you know how I feel? Perhaps if I killed every person who was close to you, then you'd have an inkling of empathy to how I feel. You scoff at my feelings, but if all your friends were dead, perhaps you'd feel slightly like how I do. You couldn't kill any of the people precious to me. Sasuke looked at Kakashi darkly. After all, they're already dead. And if I wanted to kill the person responsible, I'd have to commit suicide. Sasuke looked shocked. Kakashi got up from his bed and uttered nonchalantly, I have to go pick up my next mission. This left Sasuke alone, in his room, with four figures looking at him, the building across from him. Hospital. Different room. Sakura woke up just in time to see the nurse making the bed that Sasuke left behind. Where's Sasuke? She asked weakly. Oh, you're awake. I believe he went up to the roof with his two visitors. Visitors. A blonde boy who said he was the Uchiha's teammate, and his friend. Sakura began to get up with slight difficulty. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I just need to stretch a bit. Once she was up, she began to walk to stairs to the roof. Sakura was just able to catch Naruto and his merry harem before they left to train. Hey, Naruto. Oh, hey Sakura. You haven't met before, have you? He asked rhetorically. This is Sakura. And this is Yugito, Tamari, Fu, and Pinkatsuchi. Kuratsuchi. Tomato. Can I talk to you for a minute? Naruto. Sakura asked. Sure. He didn't move. In private. Oh, I was just about to go and train. It's okay Naruto, you can just catch up later. Fu said with an upbeat tone. Okay. Naruto followed Sakura out the door. Why did you do that? I was this close to pounding him into a fine paste with the pretense of training, and you ruined it. Said Kuratsuchi. That's the girl that he's in love with. Fu said severely. Oh, never mind then, let's just go. Kuratsuchi said. She may have wanted to grind the kid to dust, but even she knew when to draw the line. The four of them jumped off the rooftop, and went in search of a proper training ground. So where do you want to go? Naruto asked Sakura. They were walking out of the hospital, and proceeded to walk at a slow pace. Ichiraku Ramen. Remember, you asked me out for a date there. Sakura said in a subdued tone. Oh, yeah, sorry, a lot's been happening to me recently. Like what? You'll find out at Tsunade's inauguration. Sakura thought that was weird, but chose not to comment. They continued their walk at a slow pace. An uncomfortable silence dropped upon them as they walked to Ichiraku. When they got there, Sakura was still silent. Even as she got her order. Naruto started slurping his ramen loudly. So what did you want to talk about? He asked. It's just, Sasuke's been kinda different lately. She said slowly. Yeah, a little, I guess. She stayed silent. Hey, why do you love Sasuke? She lost her slightly depressed look, and turned to Naruto severely. I'm not going to give up on him. He raised his hands. I don't expect you to. It's just, I want to understand, that's all. She adopted a dreamy look. Because he's cool, and strong, and he never backs down, Sakura paused. And whenever I'm near him, I feel like I'm a little stronger. I know that I'm weak compared to you too. But when I'm near Sasuke, I feel like I can be stronger. I feel like I'm already a little stronger. Naruto sat in silence. Thanks, Sakura. For what? I think that I finally understand you. You won't have to worry about me asking you on any dates anymore. Naruto said. He slapped some money on the table, enough for both him and Sakura. Why? I mean, it's not that I want you to, it's just, why? You'll find out at Tsunade's inauguration. Naruto said mysteriously. Their date had taken a considerable amount of time considering the amount of time the walk consumed. It was already dark, and Naruto knew that any training now would be pointless. He headed out in the direction of his house, leaving Sakura to start home. When she had just reached her house, she got a sinking feeling in her gut that told her to go to the gates of Konoha. Somewhere in her subconscious, she knew that something bad was going to happen. Naruto opened the door to his house. Nobody was home yet. He opened a package of spaghetti, and started some simple red sauce. The blonde cooked more than he could eat, and set the rest on the side for when his housemates showed up. He couldn't think of them as his wives. They didn't interact like a husband and wives should. So for now, they're his friends, and housemates. Naruto climbed into Yugito's bed. He was sure that she wouldn't mind. He was also really sore from the day's activities, and he didn't think that he could stand sleeping on the couch again. About an hour later and his wives arrived, beat, and tired. They all just nuked the spaghetti, and climbed into their respective beds. Yugito smiled down on Naruto. He looked so peaceful in his sleep. She quickly stripped, and put on her pajamas. Then glomped onto Naruto for the night. She was a cuddler after all. Wait, what? Sasuke Uchiha has defected from the village, so I'm ordering you to make a team, chase him down, and bring him back to Konoha. He's expected to have companions of Orochimaru along with him. Shikamaru seemed to fumble his words for half a second, but quickly regained composure. I request a team consisting of only Jonin and Chunin. Can't. We have only the barest minimum of Chunin and Jonin residing in Konoha at the moment. You'll have to choose a team on your own. Remember, speed is of the essence. Shikamaru nodded, and made to leave. Oh, wait. Tsunade was considering over whether or not she should get Shikamaru to recruit Naruto. He lives in the same house as his harem, and if Naruto flies off the cuff, he might convince some of them to join him. If any of them die or get seriously injured, it could be a huge diplomatic incident. But then again, an Orochimaru that has the eyes of the Sharingan could be far worse than a political shitstorm, and Naruto might be the only one able to persuade Sasuke back to Konoha. She wrote down something on a piece of paper. Go to this address, it's Naruto's new residence. Shikamaru nodded again. And another thing, we'll continually send reinforcements as we find them. Shikamaru left administration and headed to Naruto's house. The house seemed lively, considering the shouting that was taking place inside. Shikamaru walked up to the door and knocked on it. The shouting was stopped, as he heard footsteps walking to answer the door. It was the extremely imposing Cloud Jonin that opened it up. She was obviously in a bad mood. This surprised Shikamaru quite a bit. He didn't know that she was staying with him. But he didn't comment, as he was working with very little time, and couldn't waste any on idle chit-chat. She was also wearing Neko pajamas, he idly noticed. Is this Naruto's residence? He asked. Yeah, she said warily. Come in. Shikamaru had just meant to talk to Naruto outside, but he felt compelled under the Neko pajama woman's gaze to follow her instructions. Inside he found Naruto sitting across from the Iwa Nin, Kuretsuchi, if he remembered correctly. Looking on at them was the Waterfall Kunoichi, Fu, the Cloud Kunoichi, Yugito, and the Sand Kunoichi, Tamari. Yugito looked like she was in the process of berating Naruto and Kuretsuchi when he interrupted. As evidenced by the fact that both were looking solemnly at the table, and that Naruto was covered head to toe in shaving cream. What did you want, Shikamaru-san? Yugito asked. I came to tell Naruto that I'm recruiting him for a mission to go and retrieve Sasuke, who just deserted last night. Naruto's eyes widened considerably. What? Speed is of the essence, and we may encounter enemies of unspecified strength. If you need time to get ready, then meet me at the gates as soon as you can. Manpower is low, so you'll have to be at your best. Shikamaru promptly left to find more recruits. Naruto looked dumbstruck, but quickly ran up to the shower. Yugito walked up to her room to begin putting on her ninja gear. After she was done, which didn't take any time at all, she walked sedately back to the kitchen area. Where are you going? Kuretsuchi asked brusquely. I'm getting ready for the mission. He only specified that Naruto could go. Fu said quietly. He also specified that they're low on manpower. Okay. He'd probably accept you as part of his team. But why are you going? You don't have to. Temari asked. I'm going in order to protect Naruto. You're going because of him. Why? Kuretsuchi asked. Because, to me, he's a precious person. Kuretsuchi's mouth was agape. And just when did that happen? 2 nights ago. Yugito said sheepishly. She's been doing a lot of things uncharacteristic of her as of late. Such as being sheepish, or showing embarrassment. So you did the kid. Yugito's cheeks turned a slight shade of red. No, I didn't. Why are you always thinking that? Oh please, he became your precious person, Kuretsuchi said with no small amount of sarcasm. On the night that you two started sleeping together. You are so ing him, you Shotokan. Yugito pinched the bridge of her nose and let out a sigh. We are not having relations. I just don't feel comfortable knowing that he's sent on a mission to retrieve a traitor, while fighting foes of unspecified strength on low manpower. Not only that, but if he dies, there would be an international incident. She said. I'm going too, Fu said. Why are you going? Kuretsuchi asked incredulously. Because, he's my friend. Even if we're married, he's my friend, I think. I've never had a friend before, but I think that the connection I have with him is friendship. So I'm going to protect him. Fu also went upstairs to get her ninja gear, who was soon followed by Temari. Not you two, Kuretsuchi said. Words could not be able to accurately describe the feeling that Kuretsuchi was having right then. Of being sane in an insane world might come close to the feeling. If he dies on this mission, there would be a huge diplomatic incident. If he dies on this mission, we wouldn't have to be stuck in a loveless marriage anymore. This marriage could help in leading the world to peace. Temari said in a tone that spoke of finality, and continued to walk to her room to get her tools. Kuretsuchi belted out a mighty sigh. Fine, you ing stoic, I'll go too. She said to herself. Kuretsuchi also went to get geared up. When Naruto burst out of his room, dressed, and bolted towards the door, he was met with his wives, all dressed in shinobi gear. What are you guys doing? He asked. We're going with you, shithead. Was Kuretsuchi's courteous reply. Oh, I'm going in order to protect my precious person. Yugito said with a light smile. I'm going in order to protect my friend. Fu said with a big, Naruto-esque grin. I'm going in order to protect the peace of the nations. Temari said blankly. I have absolutely no idea why I'm going. Kuretsuchi said with a defeated tone. Naruto's eyes would have teared up if he had the time, however, he was working on borrowed time as it was. Alright, let's go. Naruto burst out of his room and headed to the gates, with his harem in tow. At the gates, he was met with the sight of Shikamaru, Kiba, and Akamaru, his sister Hana, and her dog trio Tenten, Hinata, and Neji. Quite the motley crew indeed. Who are they? Hana asked, referring the foreign kunoichi with Naruto. We're diplomats from different villages that have come to help. Temari said. Tenten looked at Temari with slight concern, but didn't sense any malicious intent, so chose not to speak up. Having her back practically broken in half during the Chunin exams didn't make her particularly trusting of the San Kunoichi. I'm going to need a full report of everybody's battle skills. We'll talk as we run. Hinata and Neji, you bring up the rear and provide scouting details with your Byakugan. Kiba and Hana, You stay up front to track the scent. Shikamaru stated in a professional tone. They all nodded, and were all about to take off when Sakura ran up from the main road, to Naruto. There were tears in her eyes. Naruto, please, please bring back Sasuke. She dropped to her knees and began to cry in earnest. Naruto looked on with slight solemnity in his expression. Don't worry, even if I have to break his arms, and carry him all the way to Konoha, I'll bring him back. Naruto said, and gave her a great, big, eye-blinding smile. In order to reassure her, he turned around and took off before he could see her reaction. Everyone else, sans Sakura, ran after him. The Sasuke retrieval mission had started. Tell me when you have the scent. Shikamaru told Kiba and Hana. They both nodded. Okay. Everyone tell me your battle skills. Tenten. I specialize in the art of ninja tools, and use my sealing scrolls to hide them all. In ninja tools, I make best use of thrown weapons. Kiba. I specialize in tracking and the use of Inuzuka-specific jutsu. Hana. I also specialize in tracking and the use of Inuzuka jutsu. However, I'm also a trained medic. Fu. I'm a support fighter, but I also am skilled with kenjutsu. Fu didn't feel like it was necessary to divulge the secret of her being a Jinchuriki. Kuretsuchi. I carry the lava bloodline limit, and can use it to make poisonous gas. I also know some earth jutsu for various ranges, and I'm also good at kenjutsu. Tamari. I'm a long-range support fighter, and I use my battle fan to amplify my wind-based attacks. Hinata. I use my Byakugan to help use my gentle fist taijutsu style. Neji. I do as well. Naruto. I can create shitloads of clones, and I'm really good at stalling the enemy. Yugito. I know many different body modification jutsu. I am skilled in kenjutsu, ninjutsu, some genjutsu, and rudimentary healing jutsu. I mostly use fire jutsu, and I'm extremely agile. Yugito also left out her status as a Jinchuriki. I've picked up the trail. There are 5 different scents, Hana said. Good, let's pick up the pace. Hinata, Neji, tell me about anything that you can see ahead of us. Shikamaru said. I can see 2 injured ninja about a half of a kilometer to the left of us, making their way to Konoha. Hinata said. We can't waste time to deviate the trail. We'll have to leave them alone. They soon came up to a site where a small battle took place. This must be where the 2 ninja got injured. Yugito stated. We keep on moving. Hinata. Neji. I can't see anything. Hinata answered. Neither I. He looked at Kiba and Hana. The scent's still here, but it's changed, become foul. Akamaru doesn't like it. Yeah, and I smell something else as well, something different. Some things that are different, Hana said. I don't like this. It's so troublesome, Shikamaru said. We move on, but keep your senses about you. These are companions of Orochimaru, we don't know what tricks they have up their sleeves. Almost as soon as they left towards the scent, Neji spoke up. I can see them, faintly, a couple of clicks away from us. They're resting. Okay. We're going to advance care. Shikamaru stopped, and put his hands into the rat seal, shadow paralysis, stopping Naruto from taking another step. There was a piece of thread directly under him. Okay. Also be wary of traps. Hinata. Call out any traps that you see directly in front of us. Why yes. They began to move a much slower pace than before. Oh. Kidomaru sat up straight. We're being followed. What? How the did anyone fall for your obvious as shit trap? Tayuya asked. I set second and third tier string traps under the first ones. But that doesn't matter. We're being followed. How many? Jirobo asked. Kidomaru was silent for a couple of moments. At least 8, probably more. Sakin sighed. Well, at least we have the Akatsuki helping us out. Are we really being chased by 5 Jinchuriki? I know the Akatsuki is strong as shit, but still. 5 Jinchuriki is a lot to beat the shit out of. And we also have to help capture them. Tayuya sighed explosively. This plan has so many holes in it. Like what if they didn't send any goddamn Jinchuriki? From what I hear, the Akatsuki operates for Jinchuriki and money, and we don't got any money. Konoha is down shinobi as it is, and they don't know that we have the Akatsuki with us. It would make sense that they'd send them. Kidomaru said. And since when has Konoha operated on what strictly makes sense? Sakin asked. RRRRG. I don't know, and I don't care. We already have the Uchiha. Kidomaru gestured to the weird-looking barrel by his side. And we already have the Akatsuki helping us out. So we just have to go with the plan, and hope for the best. Kidomaru got up, and grabbed a hold of the barrel. Let's go set the ambush in the clearing up ahead. When the retrieval team was about to enter the clearing, Shikamaru held up his hand, signaling to stop. Neji, Byakugan. They're there waiting for us. 4 are standing, 1 is crouched in a barrel. I think. And there are 2 more to the side of them. I thought there were only 5. Shikamaru looked to Hana for an explanation. The 2 to the side must have not come with the 4. So who are they? Shikamaru asked. I don't know, but their chakra is really powerful. Hinata said. Troublesome, if we rush them, we might beat them with numbers, but we don't know how powerful they are. They also have set up an ambush of some sort, so we can't. Shikamaru was interrupted by the flying 3-bladed scythe that he was forced to dodge from. I can't take it anymore. Blood for Jashin-sama. A man wearing Akatsuki robes, with slicked back silver hair appeared before the group with a manic grin marring his face. The retrieval team ran into the clearing, in order to get a better picture of what was going on. But they were interrupted by a large man with a mohawk, hefting a boulder that would definitely be large enough to squash all of them at once. He threw it at them, seemingly with an ease that bespoke of great strength. Kuretsuchi went through hand seals, and shouted out, Earth Dome. Several slabs of rock covered all of the retrieval team from the harm the giant boulder. However, the amount of chakra that needed to saturate the jutsu to make it strong enough that the boulder didn't crush it was fairly large, and Kuretsuchi was slightly winded from the effort. Jirobo ran up to the dome that Kuretsuchi made, went through some hand seals, and shouted out, Earth Dome of Nothingness. More rocks burst from the ground, and covered the dome, creating a second shell that encompassed the first. The members inside the dome began to feel their chakra seeping away. Kuretsuchi had the worst of it, because she had to continually feed her chakra into the dome that she made to make sure that it didn't lose the chakra supporting it and fall down, crushing them. Yugito, quickly thinking, jumped on the roof of the dome, and extended her nails into extremely long, thin, and sharp points. Naruto, get a Rasengan. He nodded and spawned a clone to start creating the Rasengan, while she started shoving and slashing her long nails into the top of the ceiling, quickly destroying the top of Kuretsuchi's dome, and biting into the ceiling of Jirobo's dome. The dome on top of the other dome started to heal itself, however. Not expecting this, she gave a few more, extremely chakra-enhanced slashes into the dome, some even breaking surface, and screamed, now. She jumped down to give Naruto a clear shot. Naruto jumped up, and shoved the Rasengan into the ceiling of the dome, drilling into the weak parts that Yugito created, and with a huge explosion of concussive force, blew the top of the dome up, and outwards. The sides of both shells of the domes fell down, not harming anyone. Hidan was waiting for them, however, and thrust the top 2 blades of his scythe into Naruto's chest cavity. The Naruto impaled on his scythe poofed into smoke. Yugito rushed Hidan, with both her hand claws and her feet claws extended. She went for an overhead slash at his scythe, which he blocked. But he wasn't expecting her to suddenly grab onto the blunt part of the scythe, and use it as leverage to ram her feet claws into his lower abdomen. He jumped back with no discernible difficulty, which was strange considering that he had 10 puncture marks in his abdomen, which went straight through his body. Kakuzu was looking on from the sidelines. That was smart thinking. The woman cut into the top of the dome and got the brat to launch his jutsu there, so that the dome wouldn't fall, and crush them. She also seems rather dexterous and capable. The Nibi might be difficult to take down. The retrieval team jumped out of the remains of the dome, giving him a better look at what the team was comprised of. Kakuzu narrowed his eyes. I only count 3 Jinchuriki. This is going to complicate matters. The 3 other Sound Guard unit made a great show of making off with the Uchiha, and leaving Jirobo behind with Hidan. Just like they were ordered to. They're getting away. Naruto shouted. Shikamaru looked at the opponents appraising ly, we can't waste time fighting the 2. Even if we have the superior numbers, they might specialize in delaying the enemy, which would explain why they were left behind. Kuretsuchi seemed to be having similar thoughts. I'll stall the fatty and the religious nut. You go after the Uchiha. You can't do it alone, you're exhausted. Shikamaru said. She dug into her pouch, whipped out a soldier pill, and promptly swallowed it. I'll be fine. Go. I'll stay too, Hinata said timidly. Kuretsuchi looked at her, then turned back to Jirobo and Hidan. I got the nut, you get the fatty. Hinata nodded in agreement. Kakuzu didn't want to leave Hidan in charge of a Jinchuriki by himself, because he just knew that Hidan was going to try and kill it. However, it appeared that there was no Jinchuriki amongst the 2 fighting Hidan. Kakuzu silently followed the Sound Guard, slightly to the side, and completely out of sight. Shikamaru looked at them with grave eyes, but quickly averted them. All right, let's go. The retrieval team went after the rest of the Sound Guard. Hinata's eyes lingered on Naruto's form up until he vanished into the tree line. They snapped to Hidan and Jirobo. Kuretsuchi, Hinata, Jirobo, and Hidan were all waiting in anticipation for the other to make the first move. Hidan, however, didn't have much patience at all. He rushed at Kuretsuchi with his scythe in hand. She quickly brought out her sword and swung to meet her opponent's instrument. While they were in a lock, Jirobo picked up another, slightly smaller, boulder, and hurled it at Hinata. She ran to meet it, ducked under the rock at the last second, and continued to run towards him. She extended her hands in preparation of the gentle fist. He charged at her with his torso hunched forward, and his arms covering his chest and abdomen. Hinata swung her palm at his midsection, but he didn't stop, and barreled into her, knocking her to the side. She quickly righted herself and charged at him again. He went for the same tackle maneuver as before. He had the advantage due to his superior body weight and momentum, which she wouldn't be able to sufficiently stop with her minute body size, even with the ability of the gentle fist. She knew that she wouldn't be able to attack him with him charging her like that, so when they were about to collide, she instead dove to the side, and struck him in the right leg, closing a few tenketsu points. He grunted in pain, his movements were significantly hampered, and he wouldn't be able to run with that leg anymore. She had gained the advantage. Back with Hidan and Kuretsuchi, they were trading blows with their weapons. Hidan had far greater strength with wielding the scythe, and was extremely skilled with using his. However, Kuretsuchi had speed, and maneuverability, which she took extreme advantage of. Most of his swings were dodged or parried altogether, but she wasn't able to get any shots in, because he had the greater reach. He was fighting like a person who had nothing to lose, like a person with a death wish, and had absolutely no concept of the word, risk. Hidan would run up to her, and get directly in her guard, just to get the chance to hit her. She wouldn't take the risks as the person who had just recently been skewered. He was even still bleeding profusely from the midsection. Something was wrong with him. No, something was wrong about him. Maybe he's immune to pain, a strike to a vital point could end this, she thought. He ran up to her again and swung his scythe horizontally. She ducked under the swing and, taking a risk, ran him through with her sword. Straight through his heart. Instead of falling over dead, Hidan just smirked cruelly. This was just what he was waiting for. While she was stuck within his guard, due to the sword that was lodged in his ribcage, he brought out a spike from his cloak with his left hand, and shoved it downward. Kuretsuchi let go of the sword, and backpedaled widely, to avoid the spike. He rushed at her again, and one-handedly swung his scythe in a diagonal arc. She hastily brought out a kunai and parried the blow, but was unprepared for the spike that came sailing for her midsection. She thrust her body violently to the side to avoid the spike, and almost stumbled over. However, she grabbed the sword that was still sticking out of his chest for support. The sword slipped out of his ribcage with a wet schlick, and she fell on the ground along with her support. Hidan took the initiative, and jumped on her torso, knocking the wind out of her chest. He tried to impale her, but she grabbed her sword and parried the spike to impale the ground next to her head. She swung wildly at his face, and managed to slice his nose clean off his head. A deluge of blood flowed out of the opening, and splattered her face and torso. He jumped off of her. There was not a look of pain or surprise on his features, but rather a look of triumph. He pulled up his spike, and licked the tip of it. She touched her face. It was covered in the blood of her enemy, but she could feel the small cut on her cheek. There was practically no blood at all on the spike after being impaled in the ground, however, there was evidently enough to proceed with his ritual. He made a circle on the ground with blood, which had a reversed triangle on the inside. Kuretsuchi was breathing heavily, and extremely shocked by her opponent. It wasn't every day that you fought a person who could survive being skewered in the abdomen 10 times, and the heart once, and could still not only stand, but seem unfazed by the downpour of blood from his empty nose socket. Without looking away, she called out to Hinata, "Wanna switch?" Hinata didn't speak, but only ran up to Hidan, and began to fight him. Kuretsuchi, confused by the amount of fervor that Hinata had in suddenly wishing to fight the freak that was Hidan, turned and looked behind her. She was almost crushed by the huge, red hand that swiped at her. Oh. A little bit earlier, after Hinata had disabled Jirobo's right leg, she ran up to him again, and began a taijutsu fight in earnest. He was still immensely strong, and one punch could mean the end of the spar. But she attacked him with all that she had, running up to him time and time again to try and hit all the points that she could before he was able to retaliate, only to dodge, parry, or jump back, and try again. His punches and kicks were at first fast, well placed, and done with great strength. But as they continued to fight, his attacks slowed down, they lost precision, and worst of all, they lost their strength. Hinata charged ahead once more, hoping to end the fight quickly, and swung her palm to his head. She wasn't expecting black markings to spread out over his whole body, and for him to regain all his composure that he lost during their fight. He caught the hand that was aiming for her head, swung the girl around, and threw her at the smaller boulder. She impacted the rock with a dull thud, and slid down to the ground. The brute ran forward and tried to kick her into the rock, but she was able to just scramble away in time. The rock that she had been laying against was turned into gravel, destroyed by the power of the kick that Jirobo possessed. Her entire body ached just from the impact from the boulder. If she was kicked into it, she would have been turned into a fine paste. Hinata slowly got up from the ground, and back into her fighting pose. Jirobo charged her, and swung for her head. His strength wasn't the only thing that improved, as evidenced when Hinata barely managed to lean her head to the side and avoid losing her thinking organ. He swung his leg upwards, which she managed to avoid by leaning backwards. Hinata cartwheeled backwards, hoping to regain her balance. He charged her again, and tried the punch-kick combo again, but she was prepared for it, and dove to the side of him. She quickly got back up and started striking all of the points that she could while he was still turned away from her. She was shocked to find out that only the strikes that didn't go through the markings on his body were able to shut down the tenketsu. The gentle fist operated by striking points on the body that would restrict chakra flow. This was done by shoving chakra needles into the body and striking the points directly. A way to counter the gentle fist was to cover the body with a layer of chakra. However, this was extremely chakra intensive, and if the gentle fist user was able to create needles stronger than the chakra cloak, then it would have been for naught. It would appear that the markings of the curse seal are physical manifestations of an external source of power, however they also contain a chakra strong enough in them to block the gentle fist strikes. Which meant that Hinata was at another severe disadvantage. She jumped away from him, and reevaluated her situation. If she were able to strike enough points in one go, while avoiding the markings, she would be able to end the fight. Even though he was wearing clothes, the markings held enough chakra to be visible to her Byakugan. This might be tricky to pull off. She created a hand seal and shouted, "Clone." Immediately 4 clones of her exact likeness started to circle Jirobo. They all shouted out in unison, 8 fields of Hake, 32 palms. Jirobo didn't know where to defend from, so he charged the one straight in front of him and struck at it, which whooshed into air, dispelling the clone. He turned around to face the 4 other incoming Hinatas. In an effort to dispel the clones, Jirobo stomped on the ground, creating a mini earthquake. This dispelled the 3 normal clones, but he miscalculated. His foot was stuck in the ground, so he wasn't able to maneuver around the Hinata that was charging him. He crossed his arms in front of his chest to protect his vitals from the blows. She simply struck at points in the arms until they hung at his sides, and then started striking points on the torso, all the while maneuvering the cursed seal markings. When she was done, she jumped away from him and started to heave for air. That move had taken a lot out of her. She fished in her pocket for a soldier pill, and quickly swallowed it. Jirobo slowly fell to his side, not moving. That is, until his cursed seal markings began to merge together, in preparation for level 2. Hinata looked on, dumbfounded, and extremely afraid, when he got up. His skin was red, his hair had grown considerably, and he was covered in sores. Her Byakugan confirmed that the markings were merged, and creating a defensive chakra cloak around his form. She wouldn't be able to fight him and win. The one technique that she was good at was rendered useless. "Wanna switch?" she heard Kuratsuchi say. Hinata looked at her opponent. It was a man who was covered in puncture wounds, blood, and was missing his nose. He was also creating a circle of blood of his own blood, which was still falling in great amounts. A chilling opponent. An opponent that the gentle fist could be useful against. Without saying a word, she charged Hidan, leaving Jirobo to Kuratsuchi. He stepped into the circle of blood that he was making, and adopted a really chilling look. His skin turned ebony black, with white markings in the shape of a crude human skeletal structure. He took a spike that was in his hand, and tried to plunge into his chest cavity. Hinata didn't know why she rushed and attacked him to stop him from harming himself. Maybe it was that the opponent that she just fought had different battle tactics, maybe it was because she felt the feeling of impending doom emanating from his form, maybe it was because she just wasn't of a sane mind. The only thing that matters is that she did charge him. With the energy that the soldier pill had given her, she ran at him and quickly started striking any tenketsu point that she could hit. He didn't immediately notice her at first because he was too focused on Kuratsuchi's form, and the look of blood squirting out from her ruptured torso that he was anticipating to come from impaling himself. Hinata blindsiding him, and shutting down his tenketsu network had been such a great surprise to him, that he accidentally dropped his spike. Heathen. He spat out. He took the scythe that was still in his right hand, and brought it down on the little girl. She tried to sidestep the giant scythe, but this only worked partially. The topmost scythe blade impaled her lower right abdomen, and was wrenched out painfully. Hinata cried out in great pain, as a fountain of blood cascaded out of the hole in her body. With one last, great, push of effort, she palmed his head, hitting a tenketsu that affected the amount of chakra going to the brain. It was a minor one, and only served to render him unconscious. That is, if he were a normal human being. Which he wasn't. His chakra flows abnormally slow while he's in his normal form, slow enough that a Byakugan user might mistake it for a corpse. However, his chakra flow sped up slightly while in his advanced, skelly form. This gave him just enough time to swing his scythe once again in Hinata's direction, before succumbing to unconsciousness. Hinata was hit once again, this time in her chest. The scythe lodged itself in her ribcage, so when Hidan fell down to unconsciousness, his scythe fell with him, and Hinata along with the instrument of death. Hinata was afforded one last thought before she fell to unconsciousness as well. I hope that I was of help to Naruto-kun. Oh. Jirobo took a swipe at Kuretsuchi, who quickly jumped away. They assessed each other. Kuretsuchi could guess from his appearance that he had gained a significant power-up, and the speed that he showed, as well as the strength that she could guess that he possessed made her want to sheath her sword. After all, it isn't very smart to run at a charging elephant with a sword, it's far more logical to just encase it in cement. She started to go through hand seals. Jirobo charged at her, with the intent of stopping her jutsu. But she kept on sidestepping, dodging, and jumping away from all of his attacks. After she went through all the seals, she could feel the ability to mold chakra start to slip away. She shouted out, congealing quicklime. Luckily the jutsu succeeded, and she blasted Jirobo in the face with quicklime powder. This had the effect of making him back away, and scream out in pain. The jutsu ate away at his skin, even with the curse marks helping to power him up. Kuretsuchi could feel the ability to use chakra slipping away from her, little by little. She didn't know the reason for this affliction, but what she did know was that she needed to end the fight quickly. Apparently, not only the ritual user's physical form was tied to the sacrifice, but also his chakra network. As his tenketsu started getting shut, so did hers. She drew her sword and prepared to charge him, not being able to feel the ability to control jutsu properly. He roared in pain and anger, deciding that he didn't like knowing the fact that she was still breathing, and wanted to change that as soon as he could. This mainly took the form of him rushing at her like a mad bull. Seeing no other option, she prepared herself and ran at him as well. She ducked under the fist that he sent towards her head, and thrust her sword upwards, and into his chest, directly cleaving his heart. She didn't expect the second fist that crashed into her torso, and sent her flying into a tree. Her ribcage was half caved in. Her spine was out of alignment. She couldn't breathe properly. She was in the largest amount of pain that she had ever been in her life. She couldn't think. Her feeling of chakra was slipping away, and she didn't know why. Kuretsuchi tilted her head upwards, and opened her eyes into slits. She could see Jirobo face down, on the ground, with a sword sticking out of his chest. He appeared dead, so how was he able to hit her that hard after having his heart cleaved? Kuretsuchi didn't know the answer. She was having a weird day, and only wanted to take a nap. So that's what she did.